back. Welcome back for another episode of Live Today Health Talk. So, today we have a surprise. We have some guests that are going to be sharing with us history. That's right, it's Women's History Month. And we have some powerful women that are going to be coming in and telling us what they are doing. So we're not going in the past to pull up the history from the history books. We are sharing and showing love to those women that are still here with us, that are still out in the field, out in the trenches or in businesses or however you want to put it, but they are still giving back to our community. They are still working and just loving up and taking care of people in the community. So before I go any further, let me do what I always need to do, and that is putting my Heavenly Father first and blessing this technology, this airway that has allowed me to share so many topics for almost 4 years now, I think, right? So, please join me in a prayer. All right. Most gracious and Heavenly Father, as we always come to you and put everything before you, I ask that you will always lead, guide, encourage me, download into me, and decrease my flesh each and every day. Take care of me. Allow me to put you before everything that I do, and allow me to wake up with you on my mind, you in my heart, but just even as carrying out the words that come out of this mouth, this weapon that can be used for mass destruction, but it can also be used to uplift and glorify your word. So, Father, as we're on this talk show that goes across the airways to so many people on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and you name it, all these platforms, may it be a blessing onto others. In Jesus' name, I pray and I thank you. Amen. Amen. All right. So our scripture for today is coming out of Peter, First Peter 4 and 8. And it reads from the King James Version, and above all things, have fervent charity among yourselves, for charity shall cover the multitude of sins. That's right. Love, charity, love covers all things because our Father loves us so much, that agape type of love, that He forgives us even when we don't forgive ourselves and we don't forgive our brothers and our sisters. That's the main thing that we focus on, or we fail to focus on a lot of times, is how can we say we love God, our creator, when we can't show love to the person that's right in the house with us? I know they can do some things. That flesh can raise up, right? And we can sometimes just fall and just have some kind of feelings in that heart, which is supposed to be what? The temple, right? Supposed to be our temple. And we can feel some kind of ways. And that brain can make us think, we think some things, that battlefield, right? In that brain. And then out comes, woof, sometimes that two-edged sword right out of our mouth. But it's not always for our Father's sake. So we have to watch that. We have to bridle our tongues sometimes too, right? So we can be sure to show love. So, like I said, we are coming off of, oh, wow, last week. We started last week with our event with the Women's Veteran United Committee, just honoring women veterans and honoring women, period, with the homebound, right? So our homebound honoree was a female. Her husband was a veteran. And what love. We show much love. But I don't want to say all this for the women, because that saying that they have for men, behind every good man stands a woman, right? Well, I want to say the same thing for the women, because working with every woman that's going to be on our platform today, there is a man that has supported her through all types of things, right? So we don't want to forget whether they're the spouse or a sibling or just a friend. platonic, so may it be, or a friend that is of a love interest. There is always a man. Don't forget it. We were here to work together, right? So, where there's a woman, there's a man working together to make sure that they are able to push through on the mission that we were put here to do. So we will be having men to join us. But before I go any further, I want to give a shout out to my engineer, who is a male, right? That has been working with me on this platform. So when things, mess up, we don't go boom, 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 boom. We talk it out and fix it if it has to be removed or whatever the case may be. We work together. And I pray that we will continue to work together in harmony, just as you'll see our guests here today. So, our first guest is Miss Charlotte Warwick and Mr. Ed Holland. So Charlotte is the immediate past chair for the historic McConkey, and I always say this wrong, McConkey One Room School Committee. And she will correct me if I'm wrong, because that CH in there seems to always get me. But let me share some of the outstanding things Miss Charlotte has done in her career, right? While we highlight our women for this month. So not only is Charlotte the past chair for the One Room School, when I read this, I was like, let me look at her twice, right? So the school is located in Charles County on the fairgrounds. Charlotte began volunteering at the school in 2014, immediately after retiring from Charles County Public Schools. See, this is what I tell you about our women, right? She retired and then she started working immediately, pushing forward for something that is near and dear to her, right? But then the following year, at the request of the Fair Board, as a member, she began a new program for the school. And the objectives are to rehabilitate the school and to create a present educational program for the community. Now, I'm going to let her talk more about the school, but there were some things that she shared with me that I just can't let her get away with. Okay. So from 1999 to 2014, she served with the public school board and specialist in the world language and English as a second language, right? But prior to that, she was a vice principal and world language teacher with Prince George's County Public Schools. And then prior to that, from 1980 to 1993, Charlotte was a defense contractor working for several companies that specialized in none other than one of our major topics that it's a topic of discussion today: artificial intelligence systems for the federal government. So she has a plethora of talent under her hat, right? But I am going to move out of the way and let Charlotte, and then let me bring in Ed as well, who is her PR person, right? So Ed is the public relations director for the One Room School. And I'm going to let them share more information and where they've come from with the school and where they're headed with the school. But I just had to highlight some of those things that Charlotte has gotten away with because we just see her as the director for the school. All right. So Charlotte and Ed, how are you today?
I'm doing well, Tiffany. And once again, thank you for having
Very
us.
well, and I want to thank you for inviting Ed and I on the show. It's quite an honor, and we hope that we can be a little bit informative to the historic school project today.
Yes, yes. So please do. Mm-hmm.
So, Charlotte, if you want to go ahead and kick it off, I'm your wingman today since this is Women History Month.
All righty. Think we might have.
Would you like me to tell you how the whole project started?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. What happened was that I started volunteering immediately after retiring from the school, and the help that was needed was at the school, which, as you have already told our audience, is located on the Charles County Fairgrounds. I'd like to give a little bit of background, however. That was not the original location of the school. It originally had been constructed at the corner of Blossom Point and Old Tobacco Road all the way back in 1912. And what makes the school very, very special is that it originated and remained as a school for African American students from 1912 to 1952. Now, everyone knows that that period of time, unfortunately, was terrible for African Americans because we had Jim Crow and segregation throughout the country, not just here in Charles County, but throughout the country. But somehow the community worked with the Board of Ed at that time and was able to have what is considered to be, in my mind, as a retired educator, a really wonderful program for its students. It was a one-room school. It had no electricity. It had no running water, but everybody chipped in, students, parents, and teachers alike, to make everything happen. One of the things that we're trying to do is to highlight what happened at the school during its 30 years of existence as an educational institution. And because this is Women's History Month, I would like to really discuss the teacher who spent 30 years of her career at the school, Miss Edna Warren Simmons. She was actually recruited as a substitute at the age of 20. She had not even finished college, but the regular teacher basically never showed up. And so the superintendent of Charles County Board of Ed said, please just take this temporarily, and temporarily turned it to 30 years. Now, we are very fortunate in that several of the alumni who attended when Miss Warren Simmons was there are still alive, living in the McConkey area. And they have shared with us what an incredible experience it was having her as a teacher. And even though we look back at the situation, oh my gosh, one-room school, no electricity, no heating, no running water, those students were now again in their 80s and 90s will say always that she gave them a wonderful education. Regardless of what the physical surroundings were, she really got the point across. And one of the very cute things that we chuckle about is that evidently she was tiny, just about 5'1", 5'2", and very thin, but no one ever brought her because she lived in the same neighborhood as the students. And so all she would do if someone misbehaved was stop at the parents' house on the way home, and the students knew it. Everything was exposed. So nobody dared misbehave because they knew Miss Edna Warren Simmons was going to tell on them. So there are some very, very cute stories involved with learning about what happened during that time frame. I do want to mention that the reason the school was moved was because in 1952, the state of Maryland did away, basically shut down all of the one-room schools in the state and left it to each county school system to decide what to do with its buildings. So in Charles County, the system decided to sell its one-room schools. And McConkey was sold to a private owner who used it as a family rental in the late. And unfortunately, during that 30-year time frame, the building did deteriorate horribly to the point where it was going to be torn down. And fortunately, two Fair Board members, Mr. George Dyson and Mr. Mitch Diggs, lived in that area. The building was going to be torn down. Knowing that it had been a one-room school for African American students, they felt very strongly that the building should be saved. And so they, on their own volition, got money together from other Fair Board members and physically had the school moved to the fairgrounds. So they basically saved the building. And we have to give them a lot of credit for that.
Oh, yeah.
So they saw the value of it, and they have been supportive in helping us to develop our programs. Right now, we are in the middle of a very, very exciting effort. We have one state grant through the African American Heritage Office for a rehabilitation of the school. And as we speak, we are reviewing proposals, and we plan to select within the next 2 weeks a contractor to do the complete rehabilitation, which the state has said we may spend up to $99,000. So we're very, very proud of that. Ed, would you like to add a few words?
Yeah, thank you, Charlotte. And once again, Tiffany, thank you for having us. This always opportunities will allow us to push out the school and the wonderful work that the volunteers are doing. And as Charlotte mentioned, once again, we want to thank the Fairground Board, the current president, Glenn Belmore. I can't say anything but good words about that fellow. One thing that when we're meeting, as you know, Tiffany, so I'm going to toot your horn a little bit. You two are volunteers. I'm going to help you out there. As you know, when we're meeting when we met pre-COVID, we had these wonderful brochures that we can hand out. You see us as we first come in the main gate. We're normally standing out there trying to entice you to come in. As soon as you come through the main gate, we're right there on the right because a lot of people still don't know where we're at. And the main functions that we're sitting around are 4th of July, the Charles County Fair, which of course is held in September, Kris Kringle, which is always held around December. And then, as Charlotte was probably going to touch on, every now and then we will have special tours. If a large group wants to tour the school, some of the volunteers will attempt to meet them down there to walk through to give a quick tour. Also, if you wouldn't mind going in, checking out our Facebook page, we have a robust Facebook page, and we ask folks to go in there and please like it. And then we will upload photos and events from there periodically. If I can go through real quick to thank the committees we have. So we have community relations, we have fundraising. We can always use money, grants. As Charlotte touched on, the grant committee was exceptional. I'm sure Charlotte will definitely speak to that, where they using several volunteer hours. How many have we had so far, Charlotte? What, 3 grants come through the grant committee?
Yes, we've actually had 3 grants, and then we've had a couple of very nice surprise donations from various community organizations who heard about how bad we are in this project. And by that, I mean really good, and helping to develop a program that highlights our local African-American history. So we have really received a lot of support from the community.
Thank you. And then we also have the Repair Rebuild Committee, which is intricately involved right now. Charlotte's successor are Bob and Cynthia Sonheimer. They couldn't make it here tonight, and so they kicked us over to you. And so Bob he still chairs that committee. So he's working very active as far as not a renovation, but rehabilitating the school. And then we have the newest committee, the Alumni Committee. So that's why we definitely appreciate you, Tiffany, to get the word out for that. Anyone who was an alumni of the school, please contact us. We would love to pick your brain to get more information about the school. We have a new member that some of you may know who joined the Alumni Committee, Evelyn DeShield. So Evelyn, I'm giving you a plug. She's been meeting or talking on the phone with Charlotte and myself. And so we still, we obviously, I may have a little bit of hair missing, but I did not attend the one room school. Some people say I'm a little older than I am. So I obviously did not attend the school. I mean, let's get straight. So we need people like Mr. Shield who actually attended the school and can give us that historical perspective to have, young folks like me sit down and awe. I don't think a lot of people my age group or younger know that there were different classes in one school. So I think first through 7th grade and first graders, whatever grade you sit on one row of chairs, and the next grade was in another row of chairs. But the point is, the various grades were in this one room school. I mean, awesome being able to remember where the kids, what grade they were in. And then keep in mind, this was, of course, an agrarian society of Charles County, where the kids would come back and forth, work in the field, and Ms. Simmons had to remember where they left off. I mean, awesome as far as memory, her part. And last but not least, I like to thank the Southern Maryland News. So if you get the Southern Maryland News, whether it's electronic or in print, you will see that they have us listed now in the museum section. And look like they have us in there every week. And I want to thank Mr. Eli Wallenhaus, who is the editor of Southern Maryland News, for putting us in that prominent spot. So that's about all. Oh, and of course, we can always use volunteers. So even though we're not meeting right now physically, as Charlotte will probably touch on, once the school is rehabilitated and the pandemic is over, we will, of course, be meeting there again. So we're trying to build up the pool of volunteers. I can definitely use people to help me with Facebook. Like if I put something on the Facebook page, just having someone to assist me to share that information will take a burden off my shoulders. So that's all I have right now for community relations. Thank you. Back to you, ladies. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you both. So, engineer, if you would let me know if the other guests are in the waiting room yet, send me a text. But, Ed, I wanted to also share with people that they can go on YouTube and actually see pictures of the one room school. So it may not be, they can see pictures of the one in Charles County, but I think it was one video I found wasn't exactly our one room school, but at least it showed, and so they could get an understanding of what you shared by the children being in one part of the house in the front part, and then the other classroom being in the back part. But all the siblings were basically in the school at this one room building at one time, getting their education. And I just found that, and you hit on another detail that I hadn't realized in all the times that I've been to the one room school is, like you said, if the children had to do work or do, as we call, chores nowadays, they had to make sure the crops were tended to before, and that took precedence over education. So as you said, when they came back to school, then the teacher had to go back to where they left off. And that had to be a lot of, so Charlie, did you want to share on that as an educator, if a child misses school, then how do you, get them caught up?
Because everybody, yes, and this is something that perhaps, I know there's nothing good about COVID, but maybe we're learning a few lessons by being able to spend more time with our family, friends, loved ones, is that everybody was very, very supportive of each other. It wasn't just the teacher and the kids in a building. Parents, whenever there was anything wrong with the school, and again, because this was an African-American school, there were very few resources given by the school system. And very often those students were using secondhand books. So parents, community people all chipped in. Now, I know that the school was never used as a church, but I know the church down the road was very involved in the education of the students. So as they say, it takes a village, and that's really what that McConkey School represents, a village that helps children. And I wanted to share one little thing, which I find incredibly interesting in education, is that in the very beginning, 1912 to about 1930, there were no regular textbook series. And so the teacher, Ms. Simmons, had to scrounge around and get donations from parents, church leaders, materials. And so the children, nobody would ever have the same reader. She would go from desk to desk and help children learn to read. But the books they had were really books that were at a much higher level. There were no children's books, as we know. So children were learning to read, and they actually learned to read very, very well as a result of the way Miss Simmons taught them. And I think just a marvelous testament to her ingenuity on how to develop a good education from practically nothing for her students.
And if I could jump in on top of that, Charlotte, as far as Ms. Simmons also going out looking for books, the same thing applied for the food. We didn't talk about anything to eat, right? So a lot of the parents, Ms. Simmons depended on the parents to bring in, corn, some ham hocks, whatever, put it in a big soup cauldron. And it was the parents who brought in the meals or whatever, the food. Honestly, I don't know how they did it, but anyhow, to make sure the kids fed for that day.
Okay. Well, look, I want to thank you both, and for my listening.
One other beautiful thing is that when the school was finally moved to the fairgrounds, put back together, that was in 1902, and Mrs. Simmons was still alive. Oh. And there was a I wish I was living here, but I didn't know about it. There was a grand celebration at the fairgrounds, and she was the guest of honor. And it meant so much to her that she had not taught in 40 years at school, but yet she was there to see the school saved and revived. And I think that's just a wonderful thing. What a gift it was for her, too.
Wow. Yes, it was. Wow. That had to be a moment. So you guys, thank you all so much. And Charlotte, thank you for all of the hard work for Women's History Month that you have done.
Every moment has been enjoyable. Of course, working with Ed has been very interesting. He's a
Yeah,
great guy.
you
He
know.
really is. He's a
But Ed is
wonderful,
always,
community relations person. And of course, you've devoted time also. So I do
yeah.
thank you very much for that.
Thank you. So you all don't have to rush off unless you just have to, but I have some other guests that I need to bring on as we
Okay,
continue
fine.
to talk about ingenuity and women's history. And Ed, I know you're such a supporter. Thank you so much for supporting women as always.
Very
So
well.
now, as our next guests join us, they are from an organization called Mind Knit. Hello, and it is a research that has led veterans healthcare, telehealth, PTSD, and traumatic brain injury research, and now they've plummeted into the coronavirus public health initiatives for veterans with disabilities. For over 20 years, they've been out there, and they have a young lady that works with them on the team that she pulls in a lot of weight, but yet you don't really hear her. She works in like the background sometimes when you look at their write-ups and everything. But and when I look at the bio that they gave me, and I'm like, okay, everybody else has 10 lines, and then I see RN Miss Sheila Max. So I want to thank the Max family, first of all, for joining us, for all that they do, and all the love that they support our veterans, and in so many ways, So I want to wish their business also, their research, just the research that they've done to support our veterans. And we're going to honor the women on their team and the women that they have been utilizing their program. So, Mayor, I'm going to allow you all to tell us a little about the program, and then I'd like to hear from your superstars also, if we may. Yes,
They're lined up.
go right ahead.
So, you want me to intro?
Go
Okay.
ahead, honey.
So, my name is Mayor Max, and I'm the director of Mind Knit Research nonprofit. And I, long ago and far away, I worked for Vice President Gore's office, and I worked in DOD as well. And what we've done is we've built programs to bring along all veterans and all people with traumatic brain injury from blasts, et cetera, and serving the country. PTSD, we have folks with stroke, we have folks with multiple sclerosis, we have folks who are blind and vision impaired. And the bottom line is we've brought in all the folks that the director of physical medicine and rehab for the VA said they couldn't possibly do what you're doing. And they've all come out proving everybody wrong. Everybody's come out stronger. And it just turns out that our team has an infectious disease epidemiologist and a immunology vaccinology researcher that work for Dr. Fauci. So they're helping to keep everybody alive so that we have a history to carry forward from this time. I just started an initiative with folks that I worked with before under Vice President Gore's office for First Nations, native language preservation. And right now they're losing their elder women and elder men, and they carry all of the verbal language for the Potawatomi tribe up in Michigan, down through Mexico, for the Navajo in Arizona. And so, bottom line is our goal has always been to make people stronger and to prove that they have abilities nobody imagined. But we're drawing on the women to prove something that doesn't normally exist in adaptive therapy, particularly with judo, and in the military, where you don't often see women working literally, how do you say, toe to toe with men in judo, for instance,
Yeah.
which we used to teach balance and self-assuredness and self-safety. So with that, I'm going to pass it off to Sheila.
All righty.
I was afraid this would happen. I'm only joking. My role is so different from everyone else. I always joke with everyone in the family that they're all crazy smart, just like crazy smart. But I'm a nurse, so I heal things and I make things out of other things, sewing, cooking, the whole thing. And so when Mayor started going regularly down to the VA, to the class, and it became apparent that more and more people were interested, because it doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are, especially with the elderly or people with like MS or stroke, falling, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. You know, you're going to fall. So how do you fall in a way that doesn't break your hip, break your arm, do those sorts of things? And the other part was, I said, is anyone observing the participants while you're doing the class? Because I knew that they all had challenges. And so I started going with, and it really just kind of snowballed. I started being able to notice things with our veterans, areas of their care that were just being ignored. With one particular gentleman, his PT, he had a stroke. His arm was up like this, contracted up under his chin. And I noticed that his fingernails, he's an older Black gentleman, and their fingernails get very, very tough.
Yeah.
And so he had cuts
Mhm.
in his palm where his fingernails had dug in.
Mhm.
So I started taking a little basin. We used to joke and say it was manicure time. And I would soak his hand and soak his arm and clip his nails. Because it's not just this hand, it was the one where you can't clip your own nails, you can't clip the other hand either. And I found that just spending that time with him and pulling that arm down and pulling it down, and he loved it. He liked the sensation of, I'm doing something that makes me look more normal.
Mhm.
And normalcy and inclusiveness. It's so easy for our older veterans to be lost in the system, lost in the world. And now with COVID added to this whole thing, one of our sons, who is an epidemiologist, told us in late January, early February, start stocking up on ibuprofen and stuff, because this stuff is going to be terrible. And we went, yeah, okay, whatever. And we went to our class on Friday, and then when it was time to leave, they said, oh, we've closed the lobby because someone came through with COVID.
VA Medical
Yeah,
Center in
VA
DC.
Medical Center in DC. So I turned to Mary and I said, I'm just going to go up the elevator. I'm going to hold my breath and run through the lobby.
Okay.
And the next week, luckily we had sort of been preparing our class for this for a month. And everyone was still sort of, I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know how bad it's going to be. When it hit hard. But we had prepared our judokas. We had prepared our group members, our community, to step through the limitations and take what connectedness we could keep and make sure that we didn't let go of it. So, I'm sorry, I suffer from terrible dry mouth. All of our members, and the added benefit, going back to, Women's Month, until I started going, for the most part, I don't know, there had not been many women in military settings, as Kim will attest to in a moment. Being around military men can make you very uncomfortable if you have been a female in the military.
Mhm.
So I think I can say this about myself. I tend to be a little bit out there, and like before COVID, I hug everybody in the class and tell them how much I love them, because I do. That's the funny part, that I do. That I just kind of brought a different energy to the group. Our oldest son is in the kitchen unloading the dishwasher very loudly. Is autistic. We knew he was autistic from the time he was 2, and he's going to be 36 in September. So it's been a while. But learning to play what we called emotional charades was very useful with a lot of our, especially the one veteran with the terrible stroke, his ability to talk about himself, very limited. When he started coming to the class, he knew a couple swear words that he used very effectively. And I did not realize how many things you could express with the word damn. Damn, he was upset. Damn, that's amazing. Damn, that's really sad, because that's how he used it. But then I found that, as you can tell, it's pretty easy for me to just sort of sit and chatter on like a budgie bird. He was able to, because he had just heard the words recently, he could take the words and use them to make an entirely different sentence to express something about himself. I'd start telling Mayor about things that Gregory and I had discussed, and he would say, how do you get him to talk about that? Oh, we found out, he has like a member of his family that, talk all the time. One who thought that Gregory should give him some of his money. And I told him to tell his nephew to get his bum ass off the sofa and go get a job.
Okay. I'm sorry, Sheila. That one might get bleeped out.
Oh, that's all right.
We're on the inspirational network, so keep it clean. That's all right.
I couldn't catch her fast enough.
So that's something else that I bring. Medicine is medicine and nursing is nursing. They're side by side, but they are different. Nurses are looking for, how are you, what is your life like? Are you happy with your health care? Do you have problems at home? All of those things are part of the patient. They're part of our group members, and they're very, very important to us. So that's where we're headed. We're hoping to just bring in more and more people. And COVID, ultimately, at some point, we'll be able to get back to doing things the way we want to do them. But in the meantime, we're staying the course. We're connecting with our veterans, who are all just awesome people. It's not just my opinion. He agrees. Kim agrees. And so, yeah, that's sort of where my skills come in.
The other thing I would note to you is we use judo as a framework to teach balance, motion. We taught Gregory how to walk again.
Yeah.
After he had a stroke at 67, they left him in a bed in a nursing home because he didn't have speech for 6 years. And he came into our class looking angry and defeated. If you see him now, he was off running down the halls of the medical center in four months. They didn't transport him during a blizzard. They didn't send the mobility van to bring him to the medical center. For 3 weeks, when he finally came back, he uttered his first 3 words. He said, "Gonna get a lawyer." So he went from being a victim to our 73-year-old who had so much history. And the average age in our class, by the way, is about 75, all the way up to age 86, which you won't see in a judo class anywhere in the world, much less the VA. And every one of those people bring a huge and a rich history. And we learn it every time we get together. We learn about their family, we learn about their service, and we learn about their history going back 5 to 7 decades. We're also beginning to learn that women have been going through PTSD, through traumatic brain injury, through the wounds of war, like any of the male counterparts. And we've learned that we can set a place at the table where women are competing with men who are caregivers. Sheila brings a unique set of skills. with to men and to the women, and that they're all treated as equals and rich members of the history of the whole organization. So should we bring Kim in?
Kim.
Kim,
Yeah.
take it away.
So Kim's been waiting so patiently. All right.
No, because they're really awesome. I was I met Sheila first, and she was just really strong-willed and a major presence in the group. And she made herself heard. So like I don't think that the judo, although the judo class wasn't started with like women specifically in mind, but the fact that Sheila was able to work with some of the fellas before I think the women were introduced allowed the
Mhm.
group to mesh so well. Uh, you, when he was saying the ages of the guys, and I found out I was very nervous because the term 30 old men just didn't happen just because it was it came from something, and especially military men are they have a lot of different challenges that they face just because of the career field, and the women sometimes are not viewed as partners in the wartime setting or any setting military wise. So Sheila really made that transition happen comfortably because not only did the fellas receive, it's probably another lady and myself, not only did they receive us, but we knew that Sheila was going to take care of any of those guys if in the event that something we felt uncomfortable anyway. So it's just been a really great class and family that I've grown to know. So
So Sheila, it sounds like you not only brought in the
yeah,
female
I don't
aspect
know.
of the TLC, but you brought in the heavy too. Yeah,
Yeah.
because and I
We
get it,
joke,
Kim.
we have
Mhm.
3 boys.
Yes.
And we used to joke that an integral part of our parenting skills was how to wield a whip and a stool. Yeah, like a lion tamer, without actually physically doing it.
Mhm.
So, and I grew up in a large Irish Catholic family where only 4 of us were girls out of 18 cousins. So
Okay.
you learned to step up to the plate and have your say with all, and I was like second to youngest out of all of them. And so you learn how to make yourself heard and to make what you are saying to be valued. And I really understood for Kim and for Mimi that having someone who is ready, willing, and able to step into the fray, whatever that may be, that I was perfectly cool with that.
Wow.
Can we talk, Kim, are you okay if we talk about medical things, diagnosis?
Check your time.
Oh,
So
sure.
we have about.
Sure.
Just
Mhm.
so you know, the
Okay.
women in our class
Mhm.
both bring a new bent. The men have traumatic brain injury, PTSD. One of them schizophrenic. The women bring in multiple sclerosis.
Mm.
And when they talk about Mimi, who is Kim's partner in crime and Sheila's partner in crime, the men
Okay.
will all say, "Don't get too close to her. She'll knock you out."
Mm.
And so they all sort of back away because they have to respect the skills.
But what's great is the guys now, it's sort of like big brother, sister kind
Yeah.
of stuff.
Mhm.
There's nothing is allowed or encouraged. They are community. They are friends. They are sisters. They are brothers. And that's the focus right there. So,
Wow. Yeah.
so I've
So,
taken up enough of your time.
no,
Kim,
no.
thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to share a little bit another part of Ed and our relationship, and it's not just with the one room school. So Ed is a former Marine and I'm an Army veteran, right? So Kim, I get it with the male female dynamics, especially by him being a Marine, right? Boy, do I. So he's been filling in, and I don't know if Charlotte was aware of this, but he sort of has had taken me under his wing too, like you were just saying with the brother, sister brother thing. But he's like, Tiffany, you gotta talk to them like da-da-da-da, da-da-da. You know what? But I think I'm gonna come take you off class, maybe, and then I go back and show them a thing or two, right? So I don't have to have Ed teach me how to use some of them words that Sheila couldn't say on the talk show. Because Ed will tease me like that all the time. You gotta tell him. You gotta tell him all. You gotta tell him. So, wow, I get it. So I get the dynamics. Boy, do I get it. And Charlotte, I'm sure that as an instructor and being in that AI world, you probably get it too. I'm sure you do, because I was in IC and I had to deal with it as well. So yes, boy, do we all get it. Hey, you know what? I thank you guys, and I thank our super troopers. I thank our women for just coming to the forefront and sharing with some of the things that they are doing in quote unquote this man's world. Still, we're still pushing forward. We still have a lot of things to accomplish, but yet we have come such a long way. So I applaud both of you, and wherever Sheila may have stepped away to, I just thank you, ladies, for being the trailblazers that you all have been. And I can never not say thank you to our male compadres enough to say thank you all for allowing us the space to do that and not looking at it as competitiveness, but supporting us to say, no, we need them as our equals or as our partners to do in order for us to accomplish the things that we need to accomplish. So again, I thank you all. And if you all would share with our listening audience, Ed, let them know once more how to get in touch with you all for the One Room School. And then Mayor, would you share as well when Ed is done before we go?
So again, Tiffany, on behalf of the One Room School, thank you for having Charlotte and I here this afternoon. So we really appreciate it. So our contact is 301-848-3476 or email, which maybe you can send out to the folks, the Historic McConnell One Room School at gmail.com.
Okay. I'll put it in the chat. Yes. Okay.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Charlotte, again, for all that you're still doing, but all that you have done. Yes. Okay, Mayor, please share. Or do you
Sure. So the best contact for me is M-A, like Mayor, John Mayer or Metro Goldwyn Mayer, MAYER1@gmail.com. We're on mindknit.org. So that's like mind, M-I-N-D, and then knit, like to knit a cap. So mindknit.org. And then on Facebook, we're MindKnit Research. So MindKnit is MINDKNIT space research. And that's where we show where all our women are accomplishing and leading. And you'll be able to see Kim, and you'll be able to see Mimi. And I will say that the women are helping to keep our veterans and our history alive, because our veterans are all in their mid 70s to 86. We've actually helped keep some alive in nursing homes. We've detected when they've developed coronavirus, and we've gotten them to hospitals. We forced them to take them. But the other thing is, everyone has coronavirus PTSD, even if it's just that much from being locked indoors for a year. And I think our veterans are helping to lead with how do you build that sustaining community, like Kim keeps everybody connected at the heart. And and as a community, and that's what everybody needs right now, because everybody in a way is very, very much alone. And our veterans have a lot to teach, particularly our women veterans.
Wow. Thank you so much for that, Mayor. Yes, thank you. Kim, did you have any last words before we depart?
No, well, just that I guess, I'm honored to be here, and I'm so glad that somebody like yourself can put the word out. So I really appreciate that. It's
Yes, yes. I
really
honor what
nice.
all of
So
you are
thank you.
doing. Yes, I honor what all of you all are doing, and it's so important. So I don't know another way to help get it out nowadays with Facebook. Now, this is airing live on Facebook now, but it will also be uploaded onto YouTube and Twitter. So when I receive the link for YouTube, I'll make sure that I share it with you all. Okay. But thank you all so much for joining me today on Live Today Health Talk. And I look forward to keeping up with the wonderful things that you all are doing in our community and to continue to build within yourselves. Be blessed and stay safe. And our engineer is going to take us out right now with our theme song. So thank you so much.
Thank